If you're looking to set up your Facebook ads account and run your first Facebook ad, this video is going to walk you through everything you need to know very clearly, step by step. And I do update this video about once a year. So this is the latest update. But if you're watching this at a later time, I will put the new version, if I have one, as the first comment below this video. One of the big benefits of Facebook ads is it's created in the same platform as Instagram ads. So when you create your Facebook ad, you could also run Instagram ads at the same time. You actually don't need to learn two different ad platforms. And between Facebook and Instagram, there are literally billions of people that use those platforms daily. So you could reach your ideal customer for pretty much anything. I've used it to sell services, to sell digital goods, to sell physical goods. Anything you could think of that requires some sort of marketing or advertising, you could use Facebook to get customers and leads. Let me jump in here on Facebook.com. You have to have a personal Facebook account in order to run Facebook ads for your business. That is directly tied into it. Now, it's not going to use your personal identity in any way for those ads, but it is a step that is required. And I have a dummy account here to show you the process from scratch. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen, people come over here on Facebook.com and then they go to ad right here. You could create an ad from here, but there is a much better way to set up Facebook ads. So I recommend you follow this step by step as I'm gonna show you, because down the road, it gets much more cleaner. It's a lot easier to connect this to your business and analyze everything rather than doing this on your personal account. So this website, business.facebook.com, lets you create something called a business manager. Now, with a business manager, you could run an ad account. That's where the ad is going to take place. You could also connect your business pages to it, run your Instagram pages through it, and it makes the whole process a lot simpler. So what I recommend you do is come over here and then press create an account, log into your personal Facebook page here, and you're going to get a pop-up that's going to ask for your business name and maybe your business website. Just put in that information and it's going to bring you into the Facebook Business Suite. Now on this page, right on top where it says your name, you could click on here and go to the settings icon. Let me go here to show you what you could do. You could also go to settings from this little icon down here in the corner. And on this page, what you need to do is you need to add people. So you could press add people, and you could add other employees, for example, if you have employees, or give someone a full admin access. In this case, I'm going to do this myself, so I don't need to add anyone. By default, it will already pull up your name because we tied it into our personal account. Then you want to go to business assets. Business assets are basically the different pages and different types of assets like ad accounts. So here, what I did was I added a Facebook business page. If you don't have a Facebook business page, you have to set one up. Now, this is separate from your Facebook personal page. So I'm going to press add asset, for example, Facebook business page, connect and share with a new or existing customers on Facebook. You could add your Instagram and even your WhatsApp accounts. Again, these are all owned by the same company called the Meta platform. Used to be called Facebook. Let me click here. So you could create a brand new Facebook business page from here. I do have a different video to show you how to set up one correctly if you don't have one. So I'll link that below as well. You could also claim an existing one if you already have one set up. You could also request one if you're doing this for someone else. I'm going to exit this. I've already set one up. I also need to add what's called an ad account. Because we have a business manager set up, you can have multiple ad accounts once you start using it. So if you want to run this for multiple businesses or even for yourself, but separate your businesses, you could do that. Let me go to more business settings here to just get a different view. You could do this from the previous page too, but I'm used to this view here. Let me hide myself. Here we already added people, but that's the same as before. You could also press add account over here, and you could add an ad account for yourself. So I would just go ahead and press add, and we want to create a new ad account here. So I already have one, so it won't let me create one, but you will press create an ad account from this page and create an ad account, go through the steps there. And typically on this page, the last thing I do is I come down to business info down here to make sure everything is set up, including my address and things like that. And then make sure you do an edit here. Here, make sure under primary page that you search for your business page and you add it. it won't let you run ads if you don't have one set up here. So that was the setup of your ad account and your business manager, which you have to do first before running ads. And I know it's not the simplest thing. And Facebook does change this all the time. I literally update this video every year because of that. But it's not the most streamlined process. But the ad creation is a lot easier. Let me show you that step by step. So you could come back here to your business suite, again, business.facebook.com. And from here, if you press all tools, you could go directly to what's called Ad Manager. Ad Manager is where we're going to create and manage our ads. This page is where you're going to spend a lot of time. I've been using this for well over 6 years now, and it's relatively looked the same with the same structure for that time. But you have campaigns. Campaigns basically I think of as the first step in creating an advertising campaign on Facebook. Underneath campaign, you have what's called the ad set. This is where you decide who your ad is going to get shown to. You could target people by age, gender, interest, activities. I'll show you all that in a second. And then the ads, that's the last step. That's the actual ad. It could be a photo, including some text. It could be a video. I'll show you how to create that as well here. So what we want to first do is we want to create our campaign, and all the other things are going to sit in that campaign. And you could run multiple different campaigns, but to start, I recommend just one campaign, and I'll show you what I use here in their settings. I'll press create right here, and it's going to give you some sort of pop-up that looks like this. If you have any issues with your account, you may have to go to an account overview. So for example, I had previously added a payment method, but you will have to add a payment method so they could actually be able to charge you for the ads that you're going to run on Facebook. And then you could actually decide when you get charged while we're running our ads as well. So add a payment method, verify your email, and then make sure you confirm a business page too, which I still haven't done here. Okay, now it's all set up. I should show you right here too. If you press these 3 lines, you could jump into different things. So if business settings wasn't correctly set up yet, you could jump back and add things there. And I will show you some other settings in a second. But Ad Manager is where we are. Again, I'll press create a campaign to create our first one. And this page is really important on what you choose. So let me briefly explain what each one is. You'll see 3 different columns: awareness, consideration, and conversion. Awareness is typically for bigger brands with a bigger budget. They just want to reach as many people as possible and let them know what they're selling, right? This is great for, if you're selling a Mars chocolate bar, or if you're selling Coca-Cola, you want brand awareness. Consideration is more appropriate for smaller businesses. So I'll go through some of these. Traffic allows you to just send traffic to your website. That is traffic. You're not actually trying to get people to do anything, you just want them to go to your website. Engagement is related to growing a Facebook following if you wanted to do that, so more page likes, things like that. App install is just getting people to install an app if you have an app. Video view, you could actually run a video and try to get people to view that video. Something I've used in the past, but not something I do often because I want people to watch a video and then take an action, actually, not just watch the video. Lead generation is useful, but it takes place inside of Facebook. So you could create a form or some sort of chat comes up, and then you could gather a lead. The way I set things up is my lead magnet is on my website. So I'll show you how I get leads that way instead of the lead generator here. Messages, what it sounds like, it's gonna open up WhatsApp or Messenger here. Now, conversion is used very often. In fact, most of my campaigns I've ever used, I've either used traffic or I've used conversion. Conversion is basically, what do you want people to do? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to give you their email and they download something for that? Something that is a very clear action is called a conversion. You could read more about it here. So a lot of times when I do a conversion on products that cost less than $100, the conversion for me is sales. I want to be able to sell that product, so I'm gonna optimize this whole Facebook ad to do that. But sometimes conversion is, I want to capture an email on my website. So this is different than the lead generation, which is a form that pops up inside of Facebook. Conversion, in the way I have it set up, is I want people to go to my website, click the box, give me their email, and maybe watch some sort of webinar. This is, again, if I'm trying to sell a more high-end item, like some courses I have a YouTube course, for example, I sell it this way. Catalog sales, again, this is a conversion for sales from a catalog. So if you're selling things that are from a Shopify store, this is one way. And store traffic, this is related to if you want people to go to a physical store, you could try to convert for that. But in most cases, I will choose conversion. In some cases, I will choose traffic if I'm just trying to get people to go to my website. But I'll show you conversion for this video. Now, there's some optional settings here, and this shows you a little bit of a better graph of how the whole structure of the campaign works. So campaign is the top tier level. Inside of campaign, you have these ad sets. Again, this is your targeting, and the actual photo or video ad is the third step. So it's a 3-step process, but this will walk you through it. So I'm not gonna fill out this optional section. I'll press continue here. Your campaign name could be something that is very easy for you to remember. So I usually put conversion, the type of campaign that I picked. So if it was traffic, I would put traffic. And then typically I put whatever video ad version 1. That's just for me to remember. This is internal, no one's gonna see this, but something where you could remember when you have lots of campaigns, well, what was that one? Maybe I ran a traffic campaign after this. I wanna remember what my conversion was and what the ad I had, if it was a photo ad. You could label those in a little bit too, and you could always come back and rename these. Now category, this is special category. If you're doing things based on credit, employment, housing, or social issues or politics, you do have to declare that. In most cases, I don't do that, but if you're doing real estate, for example, which is a common way people use Facebook ads, you have to actually declare that. It's not gonna affect a whole lot, but it is mandatory. Then you have your budget details. So let me press edit here. You actually can change this from auction. The way basically Facebook ads and most ad platforms work is based on an auction platform or auction setting. Here you have your objective. Again, I chose conversion. You do have to set one more thing up for conversion that I'll show you in a second. You could A/B test things, which if you're new, I recommend you just try an ad without A/B testing. But A/B testing lets you run an ad and then run a different ad, changing something minor. So you could change the photo you're showing in your ad, or you could show maybe you're just targeting females with one ad and males with the other ad. So you could kind of compare genders there and see which one's performing better. A/B testing does come in really handy when you actually figure this stuff out after running a few ads. Then campaign budget optimization. So you could actually distribute your budget across the different types of ad sets. So let's say you target all males, and then with another ad, you target all females. Campaign budget optimization will just decide how much to put towards something if it's working better than the other thing. I usually leave this off because I want to kind of know exactly what's happening here and not let Facebook kind of control it, because it gets confusing when you analyze the details if Facebook is just doing things in the background that is not very clear. So I usually leave this off, but you could test this out and learn more about that. I'm going to press next. So now we're inside of the ad set. Our campaign is set up already. Everything else really takes place in the ad set, including targeting and budgets and things like that. So here under the ad sets, I usually name it after I put on some settings here to know what it's going to be. So I will come and name it later, but it's again important to name it. It's internal, but it makes it a lot easier at a glance to see, oh, this is who I targeted with this ad set. Then conversion events, I want people to go to my website, but you do have other option as well. In most cases, you would pick website. Then it's gonna say Facebook pixel. You could now create a pixel for tracking, optimization, and remarketing. So let me explain this for a second. Basically what a Facebook pixel is just a small line of code that needs to be on your website if you set up the conversion campaign. Because if you don't have that code on your website, Facebook doesn't know what people did on your website. They only know if people clicked the ad, they went on your website, but they have no idea what happens after that. So conversion, remember, it's when you're trying to get emails or make a sale. If you don't tell Facebook what that is or what page of your website that takes place on, it doesn't know how to optimize for that. So a pixel basically allows Facebook to track the activities on your website that take place through that. So to create a Facebook pixel, you could just press create from here. There are other places in their business settings you could create it too, but I usually just set it up here as my first campaign. You could name your pixel here. Now you could type in your website URL here and it'll make it a little bit easier. I'll press continue here. And here I'm gonna say set up pixel now. I don't wanna continue what I'm doing. I'm ready to set it up now. The code that I mentioned, you could add it using the partner integration. This makes it a lot easier because a lot of platforms have partnered with Facebook, but you can manually type it in too in the header of your website just to show you what that looks like. You basically copy this code, you press copy here, and then you install it on your website in the header tag. If you have a web developer, let them handle this. You could email an instruction to them, but I'll go back because I want to show you the other option, which is using partner integration. So with this, depending on where your website is hosted, you could basically click on one of these to figure out exactly how to add the Facebook pixel. A lot of websites, about 25% of all websites are WordPress. So for example, if you did WordPress, it's gonna tell you to use a Facebook for WordPress plugin, and it will just make this process a lot easier. You could also just search on YouTube how to add Facebook pixel to, and then name your accounts or where your website is hosted. In this case, I have mine set up with Kajabi, so I would just go through this process and set up Kajabi. Now, again, if you chose traffic or you don't care about tracking what's happening on your website, the Facebook pixel is not necessary. But since I'm teaching conversion, getting leads and sales on your website, it is really, really critical because otherwise you have no idea what's happening on the website, and the Facebook ad doesn't know either. So it's good to know your numbers. So take the time to research Facebook pixel if this is a little bit confusing to you, because setting it up is necessary. Now, dynamic creative I will turn off because I'm going to show you how to create your own images and headlines and things like that. Budget and schedule. This lets you set up things based on how much you want to spend every day, or lifetime, meaning how long do you want this campaign to run, and then you tell it a lifetime budget. So if it's a month long, you could tell it I want to spend $350 in a month. But my personal preference is I set a daily budget of around $10, 10 US dollars. And then based on this budget, I see if the ad is performing well or not. Now, the reason why I set daily budget of a low amount, $5 or $10, is because I could tell after my ad is served to a couple of thousand people how well it's doing. Is it working or is it not working? Kind of based on how much you're spending on the ad and what results I'm getting. Then I could scale it up. It almost never makes sense to start with a lot of money, waste a lot of money, and the ad is not working. So I recommend a low amount here. And underneath the schedule, so you can have a start and end date, or you could just leave it open and turn this on and off. You could turn the campaign, you could pause it, you could turn it off, you could delete it. So I usually just leave it open-ended, and then I'll revisit back in a few days to see if it's working. Should I turn it off? Should I try something else? Should I spend more money here? So mine is set up that way. Then here is where a lot of things are going to take place that are very critical to the success of your ad. Audiences. Who should see this ad? So let me kind of briefly explain some of these things here. Custom audiences is a little bit more advanced, but it's something that you will learn down the road. So I'm going to skip custom audiences, but it's a way you could basically give it an email list of your existing customers, and you will find what's called the lookalike audiences. That's a custom audience, for example, but I'll skip that for now. Location, pretty straightforward. You could either choose a country, entire country. So I have a digital product, so anybody in this country or really anywhere in the world could buy this product. But if you had a physical service, that doesn't make sense. So maybe you want to just choose the state or even the city. Just to show you an example here, I'll just choose where I'm at here in Chicago. I'll look up Chicago. So if you're a local market like this, you could see I could just target people within a 25-mile radius of the city of Chicago, or even lower than that. Maybe I could go to 15 here and it will target the people. Now, as you define your audience, take a look over here under the right side of the page. It says audience definition. This will show you how many people your potential audience is. Now, obviously with $10 a day, I'm only gonna be targeting a few hundred people, maybe a few thousand people after a week. So the estimated size, I'm never gonna get to with a small budget, but that's not the point. The point is to create an estimated size that's not too broad and is not too specific, because you want to be able to scale this up later to be able to target a lot of people. So typically, I will eventually get to an estimated size of, let's say, 500,000 people. It just really depends on what you're doing, and then you could test all this stuff. So I'm gonna exit here because I did want to actually choose United States as a country. And you could see the estimated target size of the US is over 200 million people, right? That's how many people have a Facebook account or Instagram account in the US. So almost everyone has one. So that doesn't really narrow anything. That's fine. I'm gonna do my narrowing down based on the other settings. Age, exactly what it sounds like. Who should see your ad? Typically for the products I sell, anywhere from 22 to 55 is my target audience. So people always ask me, well, did you just randomly put in an age or all the other settings that you're putting in? How'd you figure that stuff out? I'm gonna show you in a second how I do a little bit of research, but it's typically just knowing my business and my market and A/B testing. A/B testing, as I mentioned, I could run an ad targeting people in an age group and then just change one thing, which is another age group, and see which one is converting better. I could also do that over here with gender. So instead of all gender, you could just choose the gender here. And again, you could A/B test men versus women here, or just choose all here. And then under detailed targeting, this is basically the majority of what gets results depending on who you choose. Because if I look right here, based on my age, narrowing down the age here, I still have way too many people, right? And I did not narrow down gender. So for targeting, let me just show you as an example. If I press browse, there is demographics. So let me open this up. So this is education, finance, life events, relationship status, work. Then you have interest. So what business they're interested in, entertainment, family. Then you also have behavior. What have they done on their Facebook accounts as long as they've had the account? So you can learn more about that here. Digital activity is actually one of my favorites. There's this thing called like early technology adopters I could target. So people that are willing to spend money on an earlier version of a technology, but there's a ton of options available here. The most difficult thing I ever found about running Facebook ads is how do I know if I'm targeting the right people? If I'm just randomly typing things in and using the suggestions, is that the right person to target? Again, you could A/B test, but let me show you another tool that Facebook gives you. Let me show you this. It's inside of Ad Manager. Just press these three lines, all tools. And I just opened a different window here. So the other one's just in draft mode. So I'm pausing that one to show you this. But audience insights. Let me go here. And this is a great way to figure out your potential audience here. Okay, so what I typically do from here is it's just gonna show me the total size with the Facebook and Instagram ad platforms here, right? In the US, that's what I have picked as my location. But I could see the different age categories here. I could see the top cities here based on my country. I could also see the top pages here and how many people are following those pages as well. So this is just a very general overview, but if you press filter right here, you could do some of those settings that we have in the previous page, right? So United States is the country, so I still have the same country. Age, I could choose 22 to 55 here. So if you see, the numbers are exactly what the other page was showing me. Let me go back to filter. Gender, all, but interest, now I could figure some things out and just type in some interest and see what's happening here. So let me type in digital marketing again. I'll choose that as the interest right here. Let's see, we're down to 6 million people now just by choosing that as our interest. Now, based on that, I could learn more about them, right? I could see their age group. So there's almost no one under 24, right? So maybe I would go back to my ad and change the age to 24 because the majority of people are older. I could see women dominate men in this category, so maybe I just want to run an ad targeting them. It's not that big of a difference here, so maybe I'll leave it as is. I'll go back to filtering. I could also maybe do ads targeting different cities based on what this is showing me. And this is really cool. You could see the top pages those people that like digital marketing like, because I could target people based on these pages as well. So let me just go back to Ad Manager here. And I could type in tasty. That's one of the pages digital marketers like. So you could see here, interest, tasty. I could click on that and it will target people that like that page here. So it's added them as an interest, additional interest. Okay, so I do a lot of research on this page to kind of figure out a little bit more what's happening before I started just randomly putting things in my detailed targeting. But I also know digital marketing is one, so I will type that in. You could have multiple different interests, so I'll choose that. Let's see where we are. Instead of adding more interest behaviors or demographics, you could actually exclude some of them, or you could define further, meaning they have to like tasty. And if I define further, they also have to like digital marketing as an interest. So if I choose both of those, you can see it's going to narrow it down much further, down to 43 million. Now I'm going to narrow it even further. They must also like, let's say YouTube. They must also like YouTube. So I'll select that. And you could see some of these are going to say employer or job title. I don't want that. I want interest. So I'm going to choose interest. And I'm down to 36, right? So you just basically take this and refine it further. Now, if you don't define further, basically it adds to your audience size, because if someone likes YouTube and digital marketing, it will show the ad to both people, not someone that likes digital marketing and YouTube. So I will refine this even further. Maybe someone that likes cameras as well. Maybe they need to make their own YouTube videos. They researched cameras. I'll select that here, and it's going to refine it even further. You could also define based on type of pages they like. Maybe Tony Robbins is a good fit here. So I'll select his page, and it's going down more and more. So again, this is telling me that's okay. It's fairly broad, but I definitely want to get this closer to 1 million or even 500,000 for my targeting. So I got some more research to do to define this a little bit further. Now, just to show you from some of my research, one of the suggestions here was behavior, and purchase behavior is one option. So people that are engaged shoppers, people that actually buy stuff, I could select them here, and it should refine this a little bit further, right? It cut it down even more. Let's go down to language. That's pretty straightforward. I only want English here, all. And connections, you could actually set this up based on connection. If people that liked your page are the only ones that should see this, you could go ahead and do that. In most cases, I leave this alone since I don't have a big Facebook following. Now, placement is kind of an important place in this whole process. Placement basically means, where do you want your ad to show? Do you want it to show on Facebook? Do you want it to show on Instagram? Maybe both, but there's a bunch of other options. So I'll show you all of them here. Automatic, just lets Facebook decide based on what's performing. For beginners, it's a perfectly fine option. Then you will look at the numbers to see if it worked or not. Manual placement shows you all the places this is showing it automatically. So Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and Messenger. Audience Network are other places outside of Facebook where there is a partnership with Facebook and they could show the ad. That could be different apps, for example. And you could see a full overview of what those different things are on this tab. Now you can see there's a whole bunch of different stuff here that you're gonna see. Again, you could turn any one of these off on their manual setting, but not something I recommend for beginners. So if you wanted to just not do Instagram, you could turn that off over here, but I'm gonna leave it on. Now, this is going to narrow your audience as well, right? Because if you take off placement, it's going to bring your audiences to a smaller amount. When I create my ads, I do create it in different shapes and sizes if I'm doing the automatic option, because a square one might look good on Instagram and Facebook, but it might not look good on Instagram Reels. Okay, that needs a more vertical 9:16. I'll show you in a second how I take the guessing out of all the different sizes. But as you go through it, if you look underneath, we recommend square image. It says that on the bottom here. Again, I recommend automatic here. Now, I leave everything else. So I spend a lot of time on this targeting to make sure I have the right audience. And if I wanted to really take my placement to the next level, I do that. Then I'll press next. Also, based on the budget we chose, here you could see how many people you're going to reach and how many conversions you're going to get. So maybe around 10 conversions for reaching this many people based on my budget. The bigger the budget, these numbers are going to go up. The smaller, they're gonna go down. I'll press next. Now we're finally over here, new conversions ad, right? So we did the campaign setting, ad set, now we're in the actual ad. Now I forgot to name my ad set. So go back to ad set, and here I will put my targeting. So US, all genders, 22 to 55, interest-based. And you could type the interests if you want a clearer idea of what you're targeting here. Again, if you're comparing ads in the future. Now I'll press next to go back to my conversion ad. Now here's how the ad works. As long as you have a Facebook page and an Instagram page connected, you could actually run the ad to both places. So I recommend you do that too. With your ad name, again, you could type in whatever ad. So maybe video ad version 1 was what I'm running here. Again, I'll show you how to make the actual ad itself in a second. Then under ad setup, let me press this. You could use an existing post. You could use the Creative Hub, which I never use, but it lets you create ads within Facebook. Or I will just create my own ad based on what I'm gonna give Facebook that I'm gonna create in a second. So you could do image or video, carousel or collection. Now I run a video production company and we create high-end ads for brands and bigger companies, but to get started, it's really easy to do this completely for free. I've had ads that are successful where I'm just sitting here talking to the camera and I'll post that as my ad, or I'll use this other platform I'll show you in a second that lets you create more high-end ads on your own. But I will just choose single image or video. In my experience, video outperforms images almost every ad I've ever ran for the last 5-6 years. But you can, again, A/B test an image ad versus a video ad and see which one performs better. Under Ad Creative, this is where you could select the media. This is going to be where you add your image or your video. So I'm going to add my video here. And it's asking you to upload a video, right? It says press upload. So where do we get this video from and how should we make it? Let me show you a platform I use. I'll put a link in the description to this platform. It's called InVideo. And here you could basically look up Facebook ads. I'll search for Facebook ads here and click here. You could do photo ads using this and you could do video ads using this as well. It does both. That's why I kind of like it, because most platforms only let you create a photo as an ad, not a video. And here you could basically get a ton of different templates and choose from those templates. And one of the main reasons I like this from doing this manually is you could get the wide version, the square version, and the vertical version. So because we're gonna do this in different placements and they're all different sizes, running the same size doesn't quite work very well. Sometimes it won't let you even upload the same size to all the different places. So I'll start with a square ad here. And you could choose any type of ad that you see from this list, and you could just click on it to create your own edits to it. You could change the text, the pictures, the videos, whatever is inside of the ad. So I'll click on this one just for the sake of making this quick. I'll press use this template and I'll put a full tutorial to this platform, but basically you could just double click on anything, change the text, and make this exactly how you want. They have a ton of options available. And if you look over here, if you go to images, for example, they literally have hundreds of thousands of stock images and videos and things like that. Even music that you could choose from that's gonna have no copyright issues and it's going to have no issues with Facebook. And they also have a resizing option. So once you make your ad once, you could go ahead and resize it for the different pages here, for the different sizes. And then you could just press download once you're happy with the results. And you could download at 1080p, which is what I recommend. Now, I'm gonna go back to add media and I'm gonna add that video, or if you save that as an image, if you made an image ad, you could go ahead and upload it from here. If you have an existing ad or if you hired someone to make an ad for you, again, just make sure you have it on your computer and upload it. Now for my ad, you could see I have a folder, I have different sizes. So IGTV, vertical, 9x16, 15 seconds. This is the longer one. This is my Facebook ad. So I made multiple different ads, again, based on those different sizes using that. So I could upload one from here. So I'm gonna say Facebook ad V1. It's gonna take a second to upload that here. You can see it gives you warnings, video length not valid for Reels. I'm gonna show you how to change it for different platforms. So your primary text typically goes on top of your ad in places that let you have text on your ad. So you could see it went out over here. Headline, free YouTube training. I will put that as my headline. That typically goes underneath. You could see it's putting it underneath my ad. You also could add description, which show up on some platforms. And your call to action is important. You want it to make it sound as clear as possible. So in my case, I want people to sign up for my free webinar. So I'll put sign up, free YouTube training, or I should put free 1 hour YouTube training. Now destination is important. I need to put my website URL. So I'll go grab that. So this is basically what a landing page is. I created this using Kajabi. This is for a free webinar talking about how to grow on YouTube and how to basically create a 6-figure revenue or use YouTube for business. So this is just a free training I have. I'll copy this link from this training and I'll come back to this page and I'll put that over here and I'll just press enter. and you could go ahead and press preview to make sure it's loading that correctly. So you want to make sure that is loading it correctly so people could come and basically give you a lead here. That's basically how I set mine up with that conversion campaign. So then I could go back just to make sure that's all set up. Now down here you can see tracking. Facebook Pixel is gonna let me actually figure out if people that clicked my ad went to my website, did they give me an email or did they leave? Because if they left, I'm wasting money here. They're not actually watching my content to learn how to use YouTube for their business or monetize their YouTube channel, so that doesn't really help me. But I want to make sure I track that information. Again, make sure you set up your pixel. Then let me come back up here to placements because we want to make sure all these look right. So for feed in-stream videos, overlay videos, if I press edit group, it will bring me to this page where I can make sure everything looks right. So my eyes are closed here, so I could actually maybe add a thumbnail, either a manual or automatic thumbnail, and pick a better picture, right? It's gonna autoplay anyway, and it's a video, so it's not that big of a deal. But I do want to really take my time to make sure I change any media here that doesn't look right. This is what this preview window is for. So over here, I could change all the different feeds that I see based on that setting. So I'll go to in-stream video, for example, to see what that's gonna look like. Then with any one of these selected, I could come back and make any changes over here to make sure it looks right. I could change any of them with an image here as well, if I just want an image playing instead of a video. But definitely take your time, go through these to make sure everything is set up correctly, because when you come over here and you preview each one, you could click on each one to preview. Now this one, some of them are gonna give you a warning. So it says change the media for this placement. Then you could edit placement and make sure you give it the type of media that it's asking for. Some are gonna be vertical, some square, some are going to be different shapes and lengths too. So I would take my time to do this. Most people skip this step, and if they're on automatic placement and it's showing this on 18 different places, half of them are the wrong size. So go back to InVideo if you're making it here and resize things to make sure you got the right size. And Facebook is going to tell you what the right size and what the wrong sizes are here. You either are gonna get some setup errors, which again, if I click over here, it says video length is not valid for Reels. So it's going to tell you exactly what the errors are so you could fix them. Once everything is fixed, everything looks right, you could press publish down here. But before you press publish, you should learn the Facebook ad policy. I would just Google the Facebook ad policy to make sure before you press publish, because once you press publish, it's going in review. And it may take a couple hours for them to review your ad to make sure it's okay. So I recommend you read the policy to make sure there's nothing strange with your ad. Now, I rarely have problems with this, but I have had problem. I was doing a film festival where it was a horror film festival, and they actually banned one of my ad accounts because they thought all my content was violent. But I was promoting a horror film festival, so the trailers, the movie trailers, were bloody and violent. Again, that was against their ad policy. I didn't know that at the time. So be careful with things like that. If you're trying to tell people that they could make money with your product, that could be something that Facebook might frown upon. But you don't get banned right away. They will give you some warnings at first, but it can lead to a suspension. Now, go to the review tab here to get a big understanding of everything that you've set up on all these three boxes. Let me close this. And it's gonna bring you back to this page. Let me go to the campaign tab here. So my campaign is in draft mode because I did not press publish. You could always review and publish from on top over here. Now, every time you select one of the campaigns, it's gonna select the ad set within that campaign. So your results will show over here, and then your ads will also have results over here. So result, reach, impressions, those are the numbers you want to pay attention to. Let me show you with another account I have here. So I'll show you with an ad set I'm running here. So just to give you an idea, what it's going to show you is reach and impressions. Basically, impression is how many people saw your ad. Reach is how many unique people for the first time people saw your ad. So 2,800 people saw this ad. And then the result was I wanted them to land on my website. So 96 people out of this many people landed on my website, which is actually a good number. If you divide these two numbers, you get a percentage. Typical percentage is 1 or 2% of people that see your ad should actually get to your website. And then from there, if you're tracking conversion, which I wasn't with this one, this was a traffic-based one, I could only see when people are clicking and landing on my website, and then I could see the cost per landing. Now 69 cents is actually really, really good. On average, it's closer to $2. Depends on your industry really, but you should analyze these numbers, because if something is doing bad, so I think one of these was doing really, really bad where it was costing me like $5. So you could see I turned some off, and then I tried a different one, And I changed my targeting from time to time. I changed my gender, the age group. Now it does take some trial and error based on what you're doing with Facebook ads to make sure they're working right. And I usually waste a little bit of money before I could really target that in, but that's just the cost of doing Facebook ads. It's almost never working out the first time. That's why I recommended that $10, $15 per day budget, so you could see which one are working, which one are not, analyze them after 7 days, and then make tweaks as you go. And in a few weeks, you should be able to get something that is working for you. Again, I do have a ton of resources that I'm adding in the description below. I also teach this stuff regarding YouTube in far more detail. That's my specialty. So if you want to learn about organically growing a YouTube following and running YouTube ads, I do cover that as well in that free training that I've mentioned that I'm making this ad for here. Hopefully this was of value to you. I know we covered a lot of information, so watch it over again if you need to go through this process one more time. Thanks so much for all your time. I will catch you on the next video.